This is a perfect illustration of Sigmund Freud's Madonna Whore complex. We are given a direct confrontation between the two elements of the anima, the two elements of the feminine archetype in man. One is the porn star, the thing that is degraded, that is kept down, and one is the morally elevated, high, maternal force. In this case, literally the mother. This confrontation is constantly avoided. You know, there's the line, the type of girl that you want to bring back home to your mother. And of course, Reid is not that. That is the illustration of Freud's Madonna Whore complex. There are types of women who men want to sleep with, and that's it, and types of women that men want to start families with. This separation is, of course, illusory. This is a product of neurosis. Hello, this is MemeAnalysis, and today I thought we would dig a bit deeper into the Madonna Whore complex, which I talked about in the TikTok you just watched. Seeing as it did fairly well on TikTok and Instagram and all that stuff, there was a good amount of interest in understanding a bit more about this complex. It is a very significant one to our culture, to our sexuality, and so I thought I would give what I consider to be one of the best resources on the subject, which is Wilhelm Reich, the brilliant student of Freud, who I've talked about quite a bit on this channel, especially his concepts about orgone energy, the importance of libido, the importance of vital physical energy, which I'm a little bit short on right now. I'm running on no sleep, just a warning. So let's give a read to Wilhelm Reich's Sexual Revolution. Here we find one of the best views of the Madonna Whore complex. So, because of the demand for the girl's chastity, the young males are deprived of love objects. This all at once produces several conditions which were not intended by the social order, but which necessarily derive from the form of its sexual system. Adultery becomes the counterpart of monogamous marriage, and the chaste young women are supplemented by prostitutes. Thus, adultery and prostitution are an integral part of a double-standard sexual morality, which permits the men before as well as during marriage what, for economic reasons, it must deny the women. But the natural demands of sexuality bring about the opposite of what a strict sexual morality intended. Immorality, in the reactionary sense of adultery and extramarital relationships, evolves into two grotesque social phenomena: sexual perversion and venal sexuality, outside as well as inside of marriage. Since sensual activity generally takes place outside of marriage in the marketplace, a tender relationship with the sexual partner naturally suffers. The young man splits his sexuality by gratifying his sensual needs with a woman of the lower classes, while bestowing his tender feelings on a girl of his own social circle. This split, together with the linking of sensuality and monetary gain, results in a complete degradation and brutalization of life. Its most important repercussion being widespread venereal diseases, which also unintentionally become an essential part of the conservative sexual order. The struggle against prostitution, sexual intercourse outside of marriage, and venereal disease is pursued under the watchword asceticism, in accord with the view that sexual intercourse is moral only within marriage. The ostensible dangers of extramarital sexual activities are used as apparent proof of its perniciousness. The reactionary authors themselves affirm the impossibility of asceticism as an effective protection against venereal disease, but they do not draw the right conclusions from the dead end of marital morality. Even though venereal diseases are caused by bacilli, they owe their dissemination to the debased extramarital sexual life, which is established as a moral contrast to the sanctioned marital relationship. So there we're given a look at how the insistence upon virginity in youth leads to this division. It's what provides the division between, well, that's the good girl that you want to bring home, and then, oh, the girl with the body count is disgusting. But in fact, the whole system is a loop that promotes itself. And married men get with those girls, with the girls you don't want to marry. And married women get with the men that they don't want to marry. In marriage, before marriage, it's all maintaining itself because of this moral elevation of marriage. Because the sexuality is split. There's it's a schizophrenic culture. Culture is, in its very essence, especially with the turn of the century, as Reich describes in the book, it schizophrenizes itself further and further. He talks about earlier cultures not having the same fixation, not having these same complexes present. So I find it very fascinating that this is kind of renewed in modern times, especially on the internet, especially among young people who don't sleep around. There's something interesting, when it talks about the people of their own class. In some ways, the femcells and the incels are made for each other, in that they are both splitting away from what they view as immoral, pointless, wicked sexuality among the youths who are fucking. And they suffer because there is no structure outside of that. There is no structure to return to. Which is why this like moral illusion at this point is comical. There is no church. The church is dead. There are no real like social communities. It's not like, well, I never slept around. I've been good my whole life. There aren't slews of people who are going to come out of the woodwork and marry you. There's nobody you're going to court with a fine letter and a walk in the park with a chaperone. It doesn't exist anymore. So, and this is a problem with the internet in general. This is one of the great problems. They spread a moral philosophy. They spread a philosophy, and it says, the modern world is wicked. All of this is wicked. This is bad. This is bad. Don't do this. Don't do that. But there is no, the idealized moral return is impossible because there are no structures in place for them. That might have been good advice for that type of person, like, 60 years ago, and the time has passed. And so they're getting older. This sort of popular internet view has been going on for pretty well over a decade, and it's not getting any better. It's not getting any better. So now let's dig into the symbolic roots of the Madonna Whore complex. So we just need to look to the Madonna, to Our Lady, Mary, the Mother of God, split into Mary and Mary. You have Mary, the Mother of God, and Mary Magdalene, the prostitute. So you literally have this split of the Madonna Whore. You are literally given the Madonna Whore. It's unified through Christ, She gives up her whorishness, and even Mary, Madonna, is not fully, she's so pure, she's not sexual. There's no reality. The reality is expelled, expunged by the divine. But this is not, this is not a functioning symbolic formula today. Today, I think Aleister Crowley provides the fantastic insight, which is his insistence upon the whore of Babylon. The whore of Babylon as the direct mirror to the singular Mary. They're one thing, and rather than Christ unifying it, the aeon is what unifies it. Both are unified in their nature. They're simply different moral, aesthetic views. What Jung talks about is Christianity You know, there's paganism, which is kind of the singular ambivalent morality. Like gods are good and bad at the same time. Gets split into good and evil with Christianity. But then in Aquarius, it comes back. It's unified again. The unification of opposites. And that is what the Whore of Babylon, who is an aspect of the goddess Nui, which is the night, which to Crowley is like the goddess of everything. Babylon is simply one of her most important faces. So symbolically, we can take a look at the symbol Gift of Thoth cards that I made that you could pick up on MemeAnalysis.com, and you can see the complex right there. Lilith, the whore, literally, you know, cast out for her sexual deviancy, and Ceres, a mother goddess, a goddess so wrapped up in her motherhood that she affects the entire world through her maternal feelings. You know, she's the mother of Persephone. So when Persephone is kidnapped by Hades, she stops making plants grow, stops making nature function. That's how we get winter. So we are given, you know, through these literally mirrored symbols. So also we'll be straight up, Ceres and Lilith, in terms of astrological reality, they're definitely not at the top. It's not a Jupiter, it's not a Mercury, not even a Pluto, not even a Chiron. I'm a little bit doubtful, but I really like the symbols. I think the symbols are very functional. So in the deck, basically, Ceres, a goddess of fertility and harvest, the maternal harvest, her crescent with a cross is a sickle, similar to Saturn, you know. And then Lilith, rather, it's a man, a very basic stick figure, with the moon ruling over it, with the unconscious feminine darkness ruling over it. So that's how I see the divide between Ceres and Lilith symbolically, the Madonna and the Whore symbolically. So I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of really angry comments about sexual morality. But another very vital point to bring up is that without experience, you truly have no understanding of what you're talking about. You know, you may have read all the Twitter threads and all of the websites, but without actually experiencing sexuality, you really do not understand what is going on. The drives at play, the psychic dynamics at play. There's far too much to it to be condensed into a catchy meme phrase or, you know, a part of a religious or political demagogue's meme, you know, meme network. It's not enough to understand life. And believe it or not, that's how you got here. You got here because two people fucked. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. So don't cast judgment. The Madonna Whore complex is a product of a rather antiquated moral judgment. Now, I'm also not saying like, oh, everybody go be wild, fuck all you want, which is not what Reich is saying either. I'm not going to make a video about my declarations of how you should live sexually. That's up to you. I'm merely trying to provide insight into the psychological dynamics at play in a lot of popular understanding of sexuality. I hope this has been helpful. One of the important ways to view this is that this is in fact a societal meme, a cultural meme, a meme so effective that it actively reproduces itself in you. As always, remember, memes matter. Also, I remembered, even though I'm sleep deprived, I remembered, if you want a tarot card reading, DM me at TheGodDisc on Instagram or Twitter. And be sure to, if you're interested, follow my writing on Substack at goddisc.substack.com. There's lots of material there I'm sure you'll enjoy. And of course, pick up Symbol, the Gift of Thoth on MemeIntelligenceAgency.com.